face.
Someone has some undercover skills going on. I don't know where Jez went. Someone point him out. All right, everybody. I believe we are live. Is this correct? Are we? We are live. All right. Look out, Hollywood. Here we come. Jumanji, Ready Player One, Free Guy. Welcome to the first ever LitCON conference. We got some amazing authors here in the panel today. I will let each one of them introduce themselves, but we're going to first start off with Jez Cajiao and welcome him in. So thank you so much. Please introduce yourself.
Hey everybody. Well, thanks for the invite. Thanks for the attention. As Dylan's saying, I'm Jez Cajiao. I'm British, obviously, author. I've sort of launched about a year and a half ago thereabouts in April with Brightblade. I've got 2 kids, dog, 3 cats, and a wife, and it's all a bit batshit over this side. Honestly, I just sort of try and rock through life and survive it. That's basically my aim. I've got the 6th book, which is the end of the first season, releasing on Tuesday, which is Empire Ascendant. And I'm pretty much broken at the moment. I'm just recovering from putting out a 415,000 word book and celebrating with rum.
Cheers.
Cheers to you all.
Awesome. And next up, we have Travis Shirtaloon. Will you please introduce yourself?
Yep. I'm Travis, aka Shirtaloon. I write a series called He Who Fights with Monsters. It's been coming out since, I think, March of this year. I'm an Australian author, so and that's pretty much me.
Beautiful. All right. And next up, we have Jamey Sultan.
Hey, I'm Jamey. I write Fragment of Divinity. I'm a paramedic. I'm in PA school right now. And I think the best part of my day was finally finding out what Shirtaloon's real name was.
There you go. It's great.
It's beautiful. And next we have J.R. Davis.
Yes. Sup, my dudes? J.R. Davis. I'm the author of The Hunter's Paralogue and Hunter's Dream Online. American author. If the accent did give me away there. Been writing for about, 3 years now? Dude, time flies.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's beautiful. And last but not least, we have Aleron Kong.
Hey, so I'm Aleron. I am a physician by training, but I've been doing full-time writing for the last 3 years. I'm the author of The Land and God's Eye, which are all part of the Labyrinth universe. And I'm working on a webcomic right now. I'm working on 3 different novels. My fans tell me I'm not working fast enough. And I want to give a shout out to Jez for his 415,000 word book. That's awesome. I mean, Predator is 450, but it's not a thing at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not measuring anything here.
Well, that's convenient because
Yes.
I'm starting the new one. Once I've got Age of Bronze, then Age of Iron. Age of Iron should be finished for December. Then I'm starting a new, totally standalone one, and it's not just going to be 450.
Is it not?
No, now it's going to be bigger.
Wasn't before. Rothfuss's last book was 410. I was like, yeah, no, that's just not how this is going out. It's got to get bigger.
It's just like that. Be 451.
Okay, I can see this really going horribly to the point where you guys are just releasing books that are a foot thick and there's just a metal spike that you get when people order them.
Honestly, I used to have hair before I went through the Amazon process of trying to get it all into one book.
Well, hey, I used to be white before I went through it, so I mean, it's a big
That's what happened.
Dude, I used to be a guy before I started this.
Yeah, to be fair. What is it that LitRPG does to you?
And JR used to have a body. So,
there you go.
Shit's just sitting there going, "Oh, keep quiet, keep quiet." Like, don't touch me.
Hey, I just took a week off because I'm super exhausted, and I've never written a book more than about 260,000 words. So I guess I'm the piker of the group.
I love the word biker. I love that. So.
Yeah, I mean, look at those things off. On that note, I mean, how does it feel to spend 18 months to create something, to have the audience digest and consume that book in a weekend? to only have that turn around for everybody. Like, is that?
Yeah. Well, the best part is when people say, "You're not fucking writing fast enough," and I don't know what you're doing with your life, and I don't care about you trying to lose weight, you fat bastard. Right.
Oh, damn.
So that's the part that really feels good here. Right. Just
Yeah.
right there.
I'm going to insult my favorite authors to progress. That's, I mean, it's a strong motivator. So that's awesome.
Aw.
Well, we all appreciate everyone being here and all writing efforts that go into creating and world building around this. It's incredible. With that being said, because we are on the Hollywood topic, I do want to kick things off with the question of, what do you think Hollywood has done right with the LitRPG movies?
I think it's making it more accessible. Because if you think we were quite a small genre that's building tremendously, we're getting a lot of attention as more people find us, especially the gamers who don't have time to game anymore. Because that was me. I just didn't have time to game, and then I found the Land was my first one. Listened to an audiobook when I was down in London on a training course, and I was just like, "This is brilliant!" And I think that basically Hollywood's bringing this to the next stage. It's making it accessible to a lot of people. And if you think years ago, it was a case of your gamers were your geeks who were at home or in the basement or in the room constantly playing away. Now it's mainstream, and that's brilliant. Because here in the UK, things like D&D, I knew a couple of groups when I was at school, so 30 years ago, and that's it. I don't know a single group now that plays. It's just not a thing here in the UK, so hopefully this will bring it back.
It's beautiful.
That's just me.
Yeah, because the superhero genre was once upon a time a cinematic pariah. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen like the super old like Captain America movies, like the original ones that were. I mean, they're tremendous to watch. Or seeing David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury. You know.
Oh God!
Don't hassle the Hoff.
So it took a few goes to get there, and hopefully, Free Guy is our Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., starring David Hasselhoff, because so it'd be good to see, that acceptance come in.
Yeah, you've been seeing it evolve over time here. Any of us have any thoughts on what Hollywood's done right?
I personally thought that the screens in Jumanji were really, really clean.
Yeah.
I was wondering how they were going
yeah.
to bring that up. And they did it in a way that you could easily read it. You got what was going on. And I think that if LitRPG sort of makes a bigger leap back, we might see part of the craft come back. Basically the original Jabba the Hutt. Everything that went into that made it look so amazing as compared to the CGI just garbage that was there before. I think that we may see a cycle back that with the advanced tech that we have, we can come up with creative ways to present things that we're really going to sort of grab more people. And along with what Jez was saying, there's all these really, really mainstream, huge actors now that are I play D&D, I play Catan, I play whatever. And it's just sort of shifted into hot nerd culture, not sad, creepy, don't touch it.
Well, if you think Henry Cavill is pretty much, he's Superman for a start, but when you look at him, he's physically, he is sort of the ideal man. When you look at him, he's big, he's got this presence about him, and then he's going, oh yeah, I build my own computer, I play D&D, I do this, and it's
Yep.
Exactly.
Very much so.
Somebody tell me the witch is Agi. Goddamn.
Jamey, you were going to say something?
No, I was good. Actually, it was about the screens of Jumanji too. When I saw Jumanji and that first screen popped up, I was like, "Holy shit! They actually did this nice."
They did it perfect.
Yeah.
Same in Free Guy. When he put those glasses on, I'm not gonna lie. 30 minutes.
That was fantastic.
It's been interesting to see the evolution. This nerd culture went from being a pariah to being now accepted in mainstream, and we're now starting to get into this gaming culture. And it seems like we're getting away from that fantasy fiction, Lord of the Rings thing, but to more of this lit RPG, life as a video game kind of culture. What do you think is the genesis of that? What's causing this transition?
I think it's people wanting it desperately, to be honest. I think we want an escape from our general lives of drudgery, of the crap that we all go through at different days, because we loved, speaking for myself, thinking back to what I loved about gaming was always that I was somebody else. I could do something, I could achieve something. You could be the hero. And now it's a case of the books bring that opportunity to you a little bit. And it gives you that sense of wonder again. Or it could just be me being crazy, but you know.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, I had a talk with Michael Anderle, who's a huge author, a while back, and we were talking about how a lot of times there's various like authors may feel like they're competing with each other, or various people that make this show feel like they're competing, and it's like you're not competing with each other. You're competing with PlayStation. You're competing with Netflix. You're competing with weed. You're competing with taking a girl on a date. You're competing with anything that sort of like fills that I need to be distracted, I want to have a good time kind of thing. And I think these studios are now recognizing that, gaming, which is, a multi-billion-dollar industry every year, is not different from what they're doing and the content they're putting out. I think a lot of people were really shocked when Twitch became this like insane sensation. Like, who would really like watching someone else play a game? Well, anyone else that's ever had boys that played games together, obviously. And I think like the powers that be are starting to get that. They're like, oh hell, there's a lot of money in this, so they're starting to put it in. And yeah, the reception is huge because people don't want just the same old boring whatever. And with gaming, it can be anything, and it's exciting. So, yeah.
That like right flipping there. And that's earlier you guys were talking about like how it's like they're doing like the Hasselhoff version right now. They're doing those test runs. And that's actually what I've been kind of like noticing. And for one, like flipping, love Jumanji. The second I saw Rock in there, I was like, I'm in it. But they've been doing that test. So they've been doing like your typical, like, kind of like Westerny. So they're kind of doing like what's free guy. If you look at the game, it almost looks like shit. What was that one game that everyone plays? It's the
Grand Theft Auto.
Well, shooters basically, right? Online shooter style, like Grand Theft Auto kind of stuff. Same thing with Jumanji, kind of old school arcade. But that's the thing. These are those test runs. I feel like slowly, sometime in the next couple of years, we're going to start seeing those true LitRPGs or like true like stats where it's like that fantasy setting, like transported or doing something.
Yeah.
It's good as well that the actors that they're choosing for are people like Ryan Reynolds, who, I mean, let's face it, he doesn't really give a fuck at the best of times. He's just constantly off the wall. But he is the A-list. The Rock. These aren't the little guys. These are there's a degree of they're big enough that whatever they make will be a success.
Yeah.
But you also look back to, what was that green film that Ryan Reynolds was in?
Did he apologize every single time?
Yeah. Sorry, internet. Yeah. And also that personality that he has, of that cocky, funny, seemingly deep, seemingly, awesome. Like it's that, the quintessential man type of like, has a down to earth attitude, but also incredibly like superhero-ish qualities and looks and things like that. So
Bastard.
Yeah.
He has hair, Joe's.
Yeah.
I'll remember that one.
So
it's okay. I can polish it. That's the reflection.
So we have a question from a Facebook user, and I believe if you log in, Facebook user, you can probably see the names if you log in. But how would you adapt your story to fit into the big screen? Does anybody want to take a crack at that?
Oh yes.
Do you want to go first? Cajiao, do you want to go first?
Have a bet.
Oh shit, yeah, I can do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, my ears are going in my old age, man. All right, so as odd as this sounds, I actually, like, when I was first writing Hunter's Dream Online, I was trying to, like, mentally, like, how would this look live? So a good example is, like, even a character of mine. People probably know Leah the Necromancer. She was originally a D&D character that a friend of mine, and there's a lot of those characters throughout mine. But point being, she had a different look, a little bit of a different personality, so I, like, immediately started adapting and adjusting it into what she presently is. So I always just try to, like, imagine how it would actually look. And maybe because I used to do like cosplay and stuff, I always think of like translation, like how does that hero look in actuality?
So since I've been converting my stuff into a webcomic, the very first step is that I had to convert the book into a script, which was just a nightmare initially. But once I sort of learned the like sort of the ins and outs of it, it got a lot more fun. And there's a lot more you can do, obviously, with a visual kind of medium. So being able to sort of like take it from the book onto the screen, I think that the most important thing wouldn't be the difficulty in even doing that, because they can do that with any book. It's keeping the LitRPG elements in it while you do that. And that's why, like, for the longest time, I was like, oh, I feel like I could only be an anime if I was really going to have it made. But seeing the tech that's coming out in Free Guy and Jumanji, and seeing the way that like even Boss Level, which is just an amazing movie, is a LitRPG, but it isn't even like show it, but you know it's a game. I think there's a lot of ways you can do it live action too. So as long as you keep that gaming level up element, I think that you're pretty much going to be okay.
Yeah.
I actually think television would be, in many ways, maybe a better format, because there is, progression is such a key element to LitRPG in general, and there's only so much you can show of that. Like, if you look at Free Guy, all his leveling up is the way they always do leveling up in movies, which is a training montage. And there's and we don't really get to see much in the way of impact of what that means in terms of his progression. And that is such an intrinsic element to LitRPG that I think, a longer form adaptation, give it 13 episodes or something, would translate a lot better than film in some instances.
It's funny you say that. I definitely was getting that any montage could theoretically like be a LitRPG. So I mean, like Pretty Woman would be a LitRPG.
Oh my God.
I feel like they always just like do this montage. Like, I mean, we've been doing it for years. It's not something we have to reinvent.
I think the biggest part of LitRPG books is that like it's not necessarily about the destination. Like a lot of these books are huge, long-running series without any kind of end in sight. It's because all the readers really like, and people really like that growth of the character, that long. We don't want to see the training skip. The training is most of the fun. It's all about the journey.
Well, what's interesting about that, because like as humans, like we love to see progression, we love to see growth, but we're inherently lazy. Like we don't want to invest that much time, right? Like, and so we're watching some hero progress, and like, well, I could sit there and watch them for like 9 months, and then I think it's like a hack to cut that together, and that you see all that progression that feels good. It's like being power leveled in 1 minute of a montage, right? So then how do you make those training montages? How do you make the evolution of the character an enjoyable thing to enjoy the journey along the way, so that you can roll this out into like, a Marvel 23 movie series?
I think that you probably need the buy-in, because you want to see this guy, this girl, whatever, go from here to here. You don't want to skip it. You want to see, but you don't want to, you want the cost. You want to see them fighting. You want to see the just squeaking by the skin of the teeth, and and then you want the other days where they absolutely rock it, and you just sort of feel good for them. You want to sort of hop onto the back of that feeling, really.
That's where LitRPG really stands out for me, because we have levels. So even though the end goal isn't there, every time a character gains a level, every time a character gets a new skill, that's still like an end achievement. That's still like, oh shit, they did that. Fuck yeah! Like that's gonna make me feel good.
Oh yeah,
can
you imagine if you actually could do that?
Absolutely. I also think that you're gonna have to make sure that every achievement is a little bit harder, right? So like like in a game, maybe it's easy to get to the first 10 levels. You're gonna have to stretch that out a little bit more, so that when a level 2 is going against a level 4, it actually means something, and then that's gonna bring a lot more drama to like the medium of film.
But you've also got though the risk of the real world progression in that. If a level 2 is fighting a level 20, if you stab him through the eye with a sword, he's not going to go, "Ow, that hurt." He's dead. So you need the sort of the work around as well. It's
like environmentals and shit.
Real world consequences.
Yes. So you're still subject to anatomy and physics and all those other types of things beyond just the fact that you only have so many options, bells and whistles that you can work with.
But
Yeah.
you can also play with that. So if you're looking at the stabbing the dragon in the eye example, like if you're it's actually set in a digital world like Free Guy, then there's plenty you can mine there because you watch someone do this great big epic vault up the dragon's leg, and finally they do the great big wham, ram this thing home in the dragon's eye, and then you just see the dragon's hit points go blip.
Oh God! Yep,
You're
yep.
Yeah.
I have made a mistake.
Yeah. So, what do you feel has been the biggest hurdle in breaking into Hollywood?
I'd say agents, to be honest, from my side of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't speak to anybody else, but getting agents. I mean, if you look out there, from what I can see, there's a lot of agents that are in fantasy, that are in this, that are in that, and the other. I don't see anybody that says, "Hey, I'm looking for LitRPG. Can we get somebody over this way for?" And so, I mean, I've only written out to a couple of them, but you think, I mean, do they understand it to then be able to take it and then roll with it? I don't.
I
think
mean,
they
also,
do.
I think that it's like every other industry, it's very like money focused, right? I mean, they're not. I mean, look at what they're making. They're remaking everything. I mean, like shout out to Dune, but other than that, like there's just a bunch of like remade stuff because they're like, I'd rather make a nickel on this than risk a penny making something new. And actually, I remember I asked Brandon Sanderson once. I'm like, look, man, they made a lot of stuff. Why hasn't your stuff been made? And he goes, this is a very touchy subject. But Hollywood is just insane. It's just a bunch of it's as ridiculous as they make it out to be on TV. You'll go to the third round, and they're like, oh, well, we love it, baby. It's amazing. It's gonna be perfect. And then one secretary blows the wrong guy, and then he's in a divorce, and he's got stabbed, and then it falls apart. And he says it's
Sounds like
just
so much
as
my life.
ridiculous as that. So, yeah.
Exactly that. I remember. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I think we need that one thing, like one lit RPG property to take off before they're going to actually really look at it seriously and then go, okay, well, something got it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like how Deadpool suddenly launched R-rated superhero movies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's interesting if you look at that because, like, in the gaming culture, we all grew up with video games, right? We all grew up with games, and as we grew up with video games grew up with us, right? And then, as you know, that it seems like that it's one of the reasons why Lit RPG is kind of more of that halfway house. We can see ourselves more into being a game and playing the game and seeing ourselves as the hero of that story than some fantasy novel, Lord of the Rings kind of situation. Yeah. So. What were your moments that you guys had in terms of seeing yourself as being the hero of the story of a video game, or something that you felt that like that hook, that mind-blowing experience that you could see yourself being that kind of gateway into becoming authors of Lit RPG?
To me, I literally, when I'd never heard of Lit RPG before whatsoever, and I was in London on a training course for IT, which was a network exam and training course. And anybody that knows anything about IT, networking is god awful. 2 weeks doing that in London, and you're just like that. Especially when the trainer isn't interested at all, but is very interested with sleeping with one of the guys in the course. Yeah. So to find, as I say, I found Aleron's book was the first one for me, but finding it and then speaking to Aleron later on and speaking to Luke Chimalenko, and both of them saying to me, "Well, do it. What have you got to lose?" And thinking, "Yeah, all right, I'll try writing." And I, hand on heart, I honestly expected that my reviews would be, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's an idiot. The hell is he doing writing? I failed school. Didn't give a shit. Thank God for good editors.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it wasn't a plan for me either. I started writing more as like a psychological exercise. After I'd finished residency, I felt like I needed a balance about something. And I had this like idea that one day I'd die and my grandkids would find, they'd be looking for like, credit cards to sell my kid, and they'd find this old manuscript and then maybe they'd read it. And I mean, that was all I really thought. And the fact that it developed and that I found my tribe is something that is kind of one of the best things that's ever happened to me. It was not an expectation at all. But I will say, as far as writing my character, I wanted him to be like a regular guy put into like the classic fantasy kind of, scenario and how that all shook out. Which is why he does so much stupid stuff all the time, because that's what regular guys do. So yeah.
For me, Jax was very much just how I act generally. So it's a case of I was writing and seeing this is, it dropped me into this situation. People complain when I first released it saying there's a lot of swearing. And I was like, well, you dropped me in there. I'm going to swear.
Exactly.
Some of these creatures start eating me, pulling me apart, knifing me. I'm swearing.
You say the same thing to me. And I'm like, who the fuck are your friends that you guys are swearing? What are you talking about?
I've been dumped in a completely different world and I'm getting murdered all day long. All in all, I better behave myself.
What am I gonna do?
Dude. Yep.
You don't take it out of chin.
It's
Well,
crazy
just
when
like-
people complain about swearing in a book with dismemberment and shit. Like,
Yep.
what the fuck is going on in real life?
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Oh,
You
God.
know? Absolutely. Who would play all of your main characters if you had a choice?
Christ.
Okay, well, let me
Yeah.
say for a record, Richter is black, so not a white guy. I just have to really clarify this because it comes up once
Do you
a month.
want to make a point of
I'm
that
not
there?
trying to inhibit it, but,
Yeah,
I'm not sure what you're getting at.
yeah.
Yeah, because I'm the same thing. My protagonist Jason's Eurasian, and I don't want a Emma Stone playing a Japanese person situation going on. Yeah, so I'd probably want to find some young, relatively unknown, appropriate actor who was kind of a mad person.
Yeah, very much so. I'm just quickly looking to see the name because I couldn't remember it for a second there. The person that I would most likely see being Jax, despite the fact that he's too old for it, would be Jason Statham. Because he just doesn't give a shit and he kicks ass. You can just see him just going,
Yeah.
Proof that bald men can be attractive. That's what I got there. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, some.
Well,
He
it's just
doesn't
like
Wouldn't sleep with him, but
Is you said Richter's white, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it
oh my God.
is.
maybe a bit of a tan.
White.
A little tan, yeah.
Basically, yeah, what it is.
I love it. Sorry, it's completely off the topic. Age of Stone. Somebody put a review in it saying, "Oh, it's a disgrace. They're all against the poor black man." I was like, the what?
Word.
I don't remember the main character being black. I'm pretty sure he wasn't. And there's an American narrator. Yes, because the character's American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you gotta love those reviews. One of my favorite was 1 star, an entire book about a dream, and I'm like, no, not a dream at all. I don't know. What you're talking about.
I didn't really read your book, but I have an opinion about it. Yeah. No, so favorite quotes for favorite reviews that you've seen that make you go, "Oh, that's a very interesting fact." Any other ones from you guys?
Oh yeah, 1 star. I didn't have time to read this book. Perfect.
Oh God, dude. I had one guy, and that this was with Hunter's Dream Online, and like, I didn't want to do like the like Sword Art Kirito deal, right? So it's like it's a Hunter Dream, but you can like log out and shit most part. And the person was just like, I don't like this because the characters don't die in the game if they and die in real life afterwards. I'm like, but it was in the book.
For me, it was somebody saying, "That's it." I got called a sexual deviant because I had 2 male characters hold hands, and it's like, well, I am. Thank you. I'm thank you for noticing. I'm a sexual deviant, but not in that regard. Usually, I'm just just put that one out there. It's a fresh insult on me.
Put that shit on a plaque, man.
I fully intend to. So like, I will
think
never buy
mine
his books again because he had 2 men hold hands.
Yeah, I think mine came from the first time I did a chapter with a perspective shift to a female character, and because I released my books serialized, so it comes up chapter by chapter. So as soon as this chapter hit, I get a review. It's like, "Why is there a woman now?" And that's just that's why is there a woman now?
No, the deep-seated stuff inside of people is wild. My character had a bisexual experience in one of the books, and it's a 180,000 word book, and the part that's being described is like 3 lines long. There's literally nothing explicit. It just says, "Who wants a mustache ride?" and he goes to bed.
Oh my god!
Which, shout out to the greatest movie of all time. And they were just like, I got like all of these like, Jesus is gonna judge you. You're gonna go to hell.
Oh my god!
Blah, blah. And I thought about how to respond to it, and then I just decided to lean in, and I listed it as LGBTQ sci-fi, and it was number 1 on the list for like 3 months in a row. So it's just like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. So with those, I mean, looking at that, leaning into like the ratiness, of everything in there. What was your chapter? So before we go into that one, is in terms of like writing things that are sexually explicit and balancing those situations out. Like, I mean, how do you guys balance out the natural deviant sexual desire we all have, all of us, and without being explicit in those situations? What does that balance look like for everybody?
I think I'm basically I put sex in because sex is part of life. It's one of my favorite parts of life. In fact, it's one of the best bits. But when you think about it, if you cut it out entirely, it'd just be weird. But if you equally, you don't want to alienate the people who don't actually want to write, don't want to read, harem stuff. So I say this is not harem, not because I've got anything against harem, just because I don't write it. And then I've been sort of towing the line a little bit. I lead up to it and then fade to black because I think, well, let's face it, either you know what's coming next or you don't.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like sex is absolutely something that's normal and healthy, almost every way you do it. So you should have it in your books and in real life and everything like that. But I never really go too explicit, honestly, because I'm not going to outdo Pornhub. So you can stick over, and then
not with that attitude.
On my audiobook again. This is basically how I would outdo a Pornhub. I mean, that's basically this is all I got right here.
Yeah.
So
I was just say, just wait till that graphic drops.
Yeah. You could capture new audience right there. Advertise to those people. You know what I'm saying?
But it is difficult, right? Like, because there's just so many people that are so angry and anal about everything. So I mean, I've definitely gotten like feedback almost within like the same, like 3 reviews apart, where one person's like, "I can't believe you just love women so much, you man hater," and then I got the next one, which is like, "You must not like women at all, you piece of shit."
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, all right. I mean, I guess.
Talk about this between yourselves, please.
Yeah, figure it out. It's like, I'm too Christian or not Christian enough. I don't know what the hell you want from me. Whenever I start stressing about other people thinking about things, though, I look at this YouTube clip that's Patrick Stewart reading 1-star reviews of Wonders of the World. And he goes like, "Hey, just saw the pyramids. Couldn't do 5-star sides? 1 star. Right? What's with all the fucking holes?" It's just like, there's so many dumbasses out there. Why worry about it?
Yep. I mean, how do you like? I mean, again, those things do. I mean, you put your heart, your soul, your time, your energy into making these types of things. I mean, in that situation, you do get those reviews. I mean, what is that? What does that process look like for you guys to be able to actually, shrug that off? Get that off your backs. I mean,
once you get enough. Yeah, once you get enough, you kind of start to, it's whatever. Like first, maybe 2 or 3 1-star reviews, I was like, oh my god.
Yep.
And now it's like, okay, fuck this guy.
Exactly. No, I mean, it's true. Like, when I first did it, there's like this old Badu song. She's like, "No, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. So watch what you say." And I like totally felt that. It's like in my real life, I punch a dude in the face at a bar and just keep laughing and have a shot afterwards. But I see some faceless keyboard warrior and I'm like, oh my god, I'm never gonna be loved again. What the fuck? Time goes on and you're like, yeah, fuck that guy. Who cares?
Yeah. Dude, especially that first release too. The first release, those first few like negative reviews, man, I was just like, I wanted to crawl under my freaking bed. But afterwards, you adjust.
Yeah, my first, my worst review, or well, the highest ranking bad review on Brightblade, got I think it was 75 upvotes as helpful the first weekend. No, sorry, the second weekend that it was out. And you sort of go, 75 people. I haven't sold 75 books yet, and yet 75 people find this really helpful.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's
Thank you.
the troll part of it, right? It's basically like it's the only real way that trolls can really mess with you on Amazon, leaving either a fake review or upvoting like, you know, the few bad reviews. I mean, you could have 1% bad reviews, but if it's the top one, some people may look and never come back. But then at the same time, you're like, fuck it, I'm selling books. Who gives a shit? You know, Amazon doesn't, so don't waste your time believe me.
The thing is that some of them, you look at it and you think, actually, that's really fair. And there's some 1-star reviews I've got, and I go, that's really totally on point. And this one is actually a lot of it. I'm like, yeah, good point. And I've taken a lot of stuff away from it. But equally, 75 upvotes in a weekend.
Yeah. Well, be sure to hit the helpful on that 1-star then, just to make sure they recognize that.
I found it very helpful.
on the areas of being triggered, one of the common complaints that authors have in the Hollywood space is by Evan here. They're talking about when they take your book and they adapt it into a movie, and then they start making creative changes. Right? How does that affect you, and how far along the lines? What would be the breaking point that would cause you to be like, you know what? No, I'm going to take my script and go home. What does that look like for you?
A fuck ton of money. Basically, yeah. Give me a fuck ton of money. I'll probably be okay with it.
Well, yeah. I mean, for Christ's sake, exactly flipping that, because people are always gonna be like, "Whoa, the book was better." It's like then they're just gonna keep on reading the book. Just keep giving me them chips, you know.
You've seen was it the zombie movie with Woody Harrelson? Where he's wiping his eyes with just like a wedge of cash. That'd be me. I'd be like,
for me, there's a couple. Like, I would absolutely be willing to work with, like, you know, whatever studio got it. I would never take a deal that I didn't have like a senior writing position in it, if not even like just a producer credit. And honestly, I'd be willing to shift the story a lot as long as I felt like the story was still telling what I wanted. But the biggest one thing for me, again, would very simply be if they were like, "Hey, we got Jason Statham to play your main character." I'd be like, "I'm fucking out of here. I'm sorry, I love him, but no, it's not gonna happen like that." So that's something that's personally important to me. So yeah, I know that. I'd be like, "You should talk to Jez." They'd be like, "What's his name?" No, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, 'cause I'm a big fan. Yeah, I'm a big fan of medium adaptation. Like, you know, a story in a book is very different to a story on the screen. And I think adapting the narrative to make the best use of the medium it's working in is very important. So I'd be quite open to changes. But I guess for me, I'd want the voice to be maintained. So you know, you're keeping the essence of the story, even if you're telling a story that's in many ways different.
Yeah. Seriously, as much as I joke about the money side of it, it would be a case if you'd want to know that it's still your story that you've written or that you've poured hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hours into. You'd still want it to be this. You know, you'd still want the reactions to be the same, the feeling behind the scene to be.
But there's a certain amount of feelings I would let go of for a big pile of cash.
Oh yeah, it's like, hang on, you want to do what? Let me just check with my accountant. No, we're good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Maybe.
You can cry yourself to sleep on a big pile of money.
Dude, I think I would only draw the line if it was like, I forget who it is, but it's Mila Jovovich's husband, who's like a producer and makes movies. Like, if he's like, "Hey man, I'll take up your book," I'm like, "Not you, man. I saw what you did to Resident Evil. You done that shit dirty."
I mean, we've
on the
all
other
heard
hand,
the phrase
Mila
$20.
$20.
There's a question that just came in called, y'all ever base a character off someone that you really dislike only so that you can kill them horribly?
Nah.
What's the point of having this power if you don't use it? I mean, that's
Oh my god.
I have a few people I've
Paragraphs.
set up for things, but I haven't quite done yet. But yeah, they're in there.
To build up. Like give him like magical syphilis or something. Yeah.
come up with something nasty like that.
Age of Iron.
Exactly.
Magic.
Oh my god. Skedaddle, skedoodle, your penis is now a noodle.
And this is it cross all Johns. It always affects all people. So, looking at this type of stuff, and saying that, like going into the space of Hollywood, I mean, what are some of the things that you would like to see before you actually bring your LitRPG books into like Hollywood? What are some things that you'd like to have? Are you going to bring them into? Would it go to Hollywood? Or would you bring it to Netflix? Or how do you think this is evolving? And where would you like to see the industry go before you bring it in?
I think Amazon's bringing out the Wheel of Time at the moment. That's the big one for me. I mean, if they do that right, that's going to be a game changer, because bringing that out, equally, if they kill it, I'm going to be
lesser known like fantasy stuff coming out. Like Foundation is out right now, which is pretty cool. It can go either way, but I feel like they've done it really well. And then they just came out with a new sci-fi one called Invasion that on Apple that has just a top tier like cast. And I feel like a lot of these studios they're not just like, it's not another Ice Spiders 3. Like they're not like just shuffling it along. They're really, really invested.
Oh my god.
It could be really, really, really great, honestly. Personally. I feel like there's a lot of potential, and I feel like it's inevitable that we're going to see more and more sci-fi fantasy, especially as tech is making it less sci-fi these days. I feel like we're going to see more of that.
Yeah.
I think movies could be good, but I think really long form stuff, your Netflix, your Amazon, I think that's where the great one, like the first one that's really great, is going to come from.
Yeah.
What about I don't know if you guys had any experience in the areas of like virtual reality technologies and actually taking your books and adaptations and bringing it into the virtual reality, multiverse, metaverse kind of stuff. Have you had any thoughts about that and shifting into that genre at all?
It would be awesome. For me, I think the biggest problem would be the static that you've got. So at the moment, I don't mean like the general, I mean your static, as in you need to be able to roll, to dive, to kick. You think most of the VR kit you get these days, it's sort of 2 controllers and a headset. All you'd need really is a couple of bands on your arms and your ankles, and you could do a lot of the fighting scenes yourself, and it could teach you. But you couldn't dive, roll.
Yep.
That's your problem. It needs to be the kind where you can lie down and actually sleep through it or whatever before you could really get into things. Without that, I don't think you'll have the cost, and the cost is what makes these worlds real.
Yeah, I don't think the tech is far enough. But I honestly feel like it's entirely possible. Like we already have mechanical appendages for those who have lost arms that you can do rudimentary movements just with mental stimulation. And right now, Elon Musk is investing it's like 25 million per annum in trying to create a telepathy sort of device right now. I feel like all the powers that be kind of get that. Making sci-fi, reality is sort of what the next frontier is. I mean, it's not even sci-fi anymore, mining asteroids. I mean, like they're really like leading into that in the next 10 years. So I don't know. Yeah, for me, VR, it's just not there. I need direct brain stimulation. We need like Ready Player One level stuff. That would be cool. Yeah.
What about is it Richard Morgan? Like Altered Carbon?
Oh, yeah.
That the tech from there, where he's saying the chip at the back of the brain to just download the brain. That's so close. I think in so many ways.
Needle.
Yeah.
Honestly. If they gave me LitRPG, I'd take the Matrix needle right to the back of the neck.
Yeah.
Because that's
I mean,
how do we push our genre forward? A cyberpunk dystopia. Awesome.
Yep.
Let's face it. I mean, it's 2021 at the moment. If they say, "Do you want to go back to 1999?" Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I really do.
Your tips are frosted. You're hitting up the anime convention. You're like, you know what I'm saying?
What do you feel like is the critical piece that you need to really get a player? 'Cause you talked about this before about cost and investment. What do you think it really takes to hook a reader and to get them to really fall in love with the lit RPG genre? What does that look like, both in the novel adaptation or bringing it into Hollywood itself?
I feel like everyone's been talking.
Sorry. No, go ahead, man.
Oh, I feel everyone's been talking about this throughout this conversation. It's that every guyness, that personableness, where you actually have like that average Joe going into this other situation and like learning the ropes, learning the mechanics of what he needs to do. That journey, you know?
Yeah. I think it's because all of us are generally the average person, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm fantastic, but I'm not Cavill. So it's sort of, well, you think that you're not, you know, you don't go out at the moment and leap over tall buildings and do all that kind of stuff. So being able to do it in the games and the average guy being the person that you start off as and then going.
Yeah. I think like there's always that wish fulfillment aspect to escapism, and LitRPG offers sort of a pathway to go from where you are to where like a more classic fantasy will start. You know, it's the pathway to Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It looks like the bank account can't keep up with my book wish lists.
Same.
Dude, yeah. Those flipping those like $33 for 3 credits shit though, you know?
Yeah.
All day long.
That's so much cheaper in England. It's £18 for 3 credits, and it's like that.
You lucky shit.
This is a great question here. What is your system for keeping up with all of your character stats and progressions?
You don't want
A
to
nightmare.
Yes.
Reference sheets. Just endless reference.
Yep.
I tried Excel. I tried all sorts. Now all I do is I just basically copy and paste off to one side, go through it, and then I get to the very end, hand it over to my editor, and give them a heart attack. Or a mental breakdown, you know. It's so, and every time they get back in touch, going, I found a problem. I just go, I don't care.
One of the crazy things about becoming a LitRPG author
that's for you,
was
Jack.
going through my whole life feeling like I was the nerd and like worried too much about numbers and stats and stuff like that until like you get feedback from one of your books and they're like, well, technically you slid in the grease spell and then you got hit with the fireball. So wouldn't that splash out more and then hit this guy? And then you're like, fuck, he's right. God damn it. And you're like, nobody would out nerd me on this. And you're like,
You've been
those are rookie nerd numbers.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nuts.
Someone messaged me about something I missed like that, where I gave the main character at the end, at part of one book, I gave the main character a certain ability, and then that was canceled out by something I did in the second book, and I'm like, well, fuck, I guess that's happened now. I can't change that.
Yep.
New rules. Look at looking at there's a lot of common tropes and things that need to happen for a LitRPG to actually be there. One of the commonalities I've seen is there's a greater being, whether it's a great astral being or a god of knowledge, or any of these other characters that appear in these books that are the ones that give the mission or the quest to the main characters. Are there any of these other subtle tropes that people may not be aware of that need to happen in order to facilitate a good novel for LitRPG?
I think the gods are quite a useful sort of. You can palm a lot off on them. Really, you can sort of go, how did they figure this out? The gods. There's a definite degree of that. It's sort of like, fuck, I needed to put this in ages ago, and I'll have to go back and write 6 pages over here and change that. Or, ta-da! By the way, little one, you should do this.
For
I
me,
think of it.
it's, I was going for more because I was wanting to make it as realistic as possible, and I wanted to not be in a game. That was one of the main reasons that I did banish all of the gods from my thing. But then, the interface in the system, kind of fulfills the same type of thing, especially when you talk about later that it's really just a gestalt between you and the universe as itself. You can sort of get that kind of guidance. But honestly, except for needing it to be, there needing to be progression and being a game, one of the things I love about LitRPG is that it can be anything. So there's not necessarily a trope that you have to follow, though I think a lot of people do when they first come in, because that's all that they've seen. But it also is evolving in a lot of different ways as people are bringing their own voices, which I'm in love with. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think of it more in terms of like a toolkit. So rather than being, what you require, you need the progression, the game system. But beyond that, you just use the tropes as necessary. In that way, it's no different from writing any other book. Every genre has its tropes, and you just use what works.
So there's a LitRPG inventory belt that everybody pulls from. I can kind of say, this is what I need for these situations.
Yeah.
I'm imagining in the background us doing an actual bling, item unlocked. LitRPG joke. Use this.
Honestly, that was one of the things that I was afraid of when we founded the group, because I had asked authors that existed, and all I ever heard is the dragons that exist among romance authors and stuff like that, and how you never want to cross them because they'll take a hit out on you and whatnot. But and how also there's just a very formulaic. If you want it to write a successful romance novel, insert guy here on page 7, insert chestless pick in fear, insert blah blah blah. And so I was worried about that, and honestly, it caused a lot of strife. Not letting the group become a writer-focused group as opposed to reader. But because of that, I feel like we have a really, really wide range of stories that may use the same tool, but they do it in a different way, and so it makes for a fresh, new sort of approach in general.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that's great about LitRPG is it's such a nexus point of genre. It draws in from so many elements, because it can be sci-fi LitRPG, it can be full-blown fantasy, it can be I think there's a race car LitRPG.
Zero car.
There are so many potential options there. It's really one of the great things about it as a genre.
I personally feel like romance would be great for LitRPG. It could be from a guy's perspective, from a girl's perspective. You leveled it up, perkier nipples.
Oh my god!
I like how that's the level up.
+2 to perky nipples.
2 points.
Absolutely.
Actually, no, I'm loving
-1
this
to
idea
hair.
now.
I feel that it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
No, that'd be awesome. You got a pet class who's for the gay best friend, and it's oh no, that'd be amazing.
Fucks you up. Nice.
So
And you rolled a 1.
Oh.
You're going to be sore tomorrow.
Woo! So, what was your favorite and least favorite chapters you all had to write?
The least favorite
to
for
be
me
the big
was
fights.
in. No, go ahead.
No.
The least favorite for me was in book 7, where I wrote a scene about sexual abuse. When I was first writing the books, I knew that I wanted to write just an enjoyable story. That was my primary goal, but I also knew that wasn't quite enough for me. I wanted to touch on various things that I thought were worthy to discuss as far as social commentary, but never in a I'm forcing it down your face, I'm preaching to you kind of way. And so I do it by just putting these characters in scenarios that sort of come up. And when I was writing it, I've known way too many people that have sort of dealt with it. I've known way too many people that have had to endure it, seeing the aftermath. And that was one of the reasons that I wrote, that I felt like it was worth sort of bringing up. But writing it made me feel horrible to a certain extent. And honestly, the feedback that I got sometimes was like, that was disgusting. I cannot believe you wrote that. I will never read you again. But then I also got plenty of feedback that they were like, thank you for actually talking about this, because no one fucking does. They like to pretend it doesn't happen. And so for me in my journey, I definitely want a bunch of fun dick jokes. I want a fun, people punching each other and selling each other out because they're best friends and all that. But it is important that I touch on things that I believe, if they could get through to one person out of 100, maybe makes a slightly better world. So writing that kind of stuff though does take a bit of a toll on me personally, but nothing compared to the people that are actually having to go through that kind of stuff in real life.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoy writing the fighting scenes more than anything else, and I really, the sort of the how we get from X to Y bits, least of all, sort of the world building. But I think the chapter that I most enjoyed writing was when one of my characters, Lydia, sort of gets to fix herself, gets sort of revenge on people who put her in the bad situation in the first place. So I won't say more than that, but Book 5, when she sort of goes through it all, it's like, yes, go on. It was enjoyable to write the scenes for her in her old village.
That's beautiful.
My favorite stuff is sort of downtime banter. I love just my characters hanging out with each other. I actually find those way more enjoyable to write so than like great big battle scenes or whatever, which I'm quite bad at. I'd say one of the hardest, the stuff that I find hardest to write, like say a big overarching battle scene kind of thing. They also tend to be some of the ones I'm happiest with, because if it's something I'm not as strong at as a writer, I tend to give it, that more time and work it until I'm really happy with a scene. So, taking something where I'm not strong and then just putting the work in until I get a result that I'm really happy with, that really satisfies me.
Shirt, I'm really glad you said that, because your Amphora scene had me cracking up. I read it for my wife, and she doesn't do fantasy, so she's just looking at me like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And
That's beautiful. And I mean, with that being said, speaking of the characters and the evolutions and connecting the characters and this, what for you is the most? What do you hope to get out of writing the RPG books? What are the things for you that would make the effort worth it for you at the end of the day once you turn all this in?
I just love reading these books. Like, I just want to write something that I would like to just like Aleron always says it. Like, I want to write a book that I want to read. Like, I love this genre. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Something that you read, yes, when it means something more to you, when you see yourself or you see a situation you've been in and you see that come to a better conclusion, you see something in there that makes you feel good. Because some scenes you do just read it and you go, I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'll read something sometime and I'll go, oh my god, I wish I'd written that so much, and and so the chance to actually write it, so the chance to actually write that, yourself, there's an immense satisfaction to it.
It's beautiful,
very much.
And the pile of money that Jez mentioned is also
nice. And apparently, inspiring people to get into the pottery business, as I see. Shirtaloon, someone said about $10,000 for the pottery. But with that being said, we are just about out of time. So I'd like to thank Jez, Travis, Jamey, JR, Aleron, for all joining us here for the Hollywood Here We Come panel, being a part of the first ever LitCON. And so thank you all so much for your time. We really appreciate you being here today. And one of the things I wanted to note was that the code word for the giveaway for anybody that's listening right now is LitRPG, sci-fi and fantasy. I'll say that again. The code word is LitRPG, sci-fi and fantasy. So put that in for amazing prizes and giveaways. With that being said, does anybody have any final last words before we close this out?
Well, I've enjoyed this immensely, so thank you all.
Man.
Thank you, Dylan, as well. It's been good.
Yeah, good job, man. Awesome.
My pleasure, everybody. It's an honor. You guys all do amazing work. I'm one of the guys who consumes it in a weekend and then complains that. So I'm gonna get on my keyboard here and start writing comments across it. No, but thank you so much, everybody. Your hard work is appreciated. Part of the lit culture. Thank you so much for your time, your effort, and energy, and very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Beautiful. And remind you that you can also chat and keep the conversation going in Discord. So if you're not a part of it, you can join the Discord channel with all of your comments, pop cultural references, spoiler alerts, and all the other amazing things you like to do inside there. So please join the Discord channel. Don't forget to put in there, and you can put what was your favorite thing from this panel. Was there questions that you wanted to ask that weren't answered? Were the things left on the table? Do you have burning questions? Feel free to answer that and put those questions inside Discord. So thank you so much for your time, everybody.
No cilantro at
See you
all.
later.
Right on.
I knew we'd not get through the full session. It was
coming,
cool.
man.
Cilantro rules.